Thank you. 6 o'clock, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Daniel Town Council meeting for Monday, April 1st, 2019. As always, we like to introduce or have any public comment concerning any issue that's not on the agenda for this evening. So we'll open it up to anybody.
Get the worm stuck off the bottom.
Let's shake it well, Pam. Okay, I take that as we don't have any other public comment.
Well, the other day, I had to get a pair of pliers. Is that a
You
sign?
got a wand to drink.
Business licenses, renewals, Stonecutter Construction, Bartwild and Associates, and Action Performance Electric. We also have a new Days Handyman Service. I believe he was a gentleman last month that was here that kind of explained that we did talk to him and answer a few questions. Council have any, which way they, I assume all is well with not only the renewal but the new application?
I have another one renewal that came in Saturday after we posted the agenda for Jolly Electric for renewal.
Okay.
I have no problem adding that and or accepting that tonight. It didn't make it to the agenda. Is that something that needed to make it to the agenda? It's not made it in before the meeting though. Okay, I'll sign all those. Do that at the end of the meeting. I'll just go down and sign.
Give him a motion, Bill.
And
I'm on it, so you'll have to make the motion.
I make a motion that we accept the renewals and new licenses, business licenses for Dave's Handyman Service and Stonecutter Construction, Bartwild Associates, Action Performance Electric, and the Jolly Electric.
great. You're right. Well done.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
So, motion passes with regard to renewals and new handyman business. Item number 3. Approval of a pre-disaster hazard mitigation plan, then resolution 2019-4-1A. I'll read that. This is something that we need to, should be pretty straightforward, but we need to have this in for a requirement by the state. Number is DR 2019-4-1A, April 1st, 2019, resolution to adopt a pre-disaster hazard mitigation plan. The purpose, recognize, reduce, or eliminate future hazards and disasters of the people and property through a pre-disaster mitigation plan. Resolution, whereas the Daniel Town Council recognizes that threat that natural hazard posed to people and property within the town of Daniel, and whereas the town of Daniel has participated in the creation of the multi-hazard mitigation plan hereby known as the Mountain Land Pre-Disaster Hazard Mitigation in accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000, and whereas Mountain Land Pre-Disaster Hazard Mitigation Plan identifies mitigation goals and actions to reduce or eliminate long-term risks to people and property in the town of Daniel from impacts of future hazards and disasters, and whereas adoptions by the town of Daniel demonstrates their commitment to hazard mitigation and achieving the goals outlined in the Mountain Land Pre-Disaster Hazard Mitigation Plan. Shall I entertain a motion or any discussion? Any other motion?
So moved.
You have a motion?
Second.
You have a second. Any discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the resolution 2019 passes.
You sending verification of that,
Do
Mary?
I initial?
The verification of this, are you sending that to the?
Oh, yeah, once again,
Got
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. we will move on to item number 4, which is we're going to set a public hearing for zone change on 1680 West, 3000 South. Planning's received an application. I don't know if it did it gone through planning yet, or we're just holding a public hearing.
This will be the public hearing portion. So we need to set the public hearing, gather the public hearing input, and then it will go back to planning for a recommendation. But we've been meeting as a group for the public hearings. So we actually have 2 of those that we need to set tonight.
Yeah, we can sort of combine 4 and 5, actually. Excuse me, 5, oh yeah, 4 and 5, that's right. And there was some talk about that combined meeting, that just because of different dates and things, what's the next planning meeting?
Yeah.
So,
So what we want to do is, we sent out the notices because we didn't have 14 days between this meeting and the 10th, because this room is taken up on the 3rd Wednesday. So we want to set that public hearing for the 10th, so it'll be 10 days from today.
So April 10th.
Yeah. And so we have a, you want to do these one at a time too?
Yeah, we can, yeah, and that's at 5 o'clock?
7.
At 7?
7 o'clock. Okay, so,
Yeah.
you can break down something, you can one second.
So the zone change, is that the first one? The zone change is David Gibbo. And that's down where the dumpsters are. The transfer dumpsters down on 3000 South, almost at the end. The mushroom farmer was there, and they have sold the house to this David, and he wants to apply for a zone change and continue his business there.
So zone change to commercial?
That's where he wants to go, is to commercial. So if we can set the public hearing for the 10th, we'll go ahead and get that. It won't be back, the board won't take, the council will address those in July. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve getting that through planning, but that should be ready for this council to make a decision in July. So our code says we'll decide in July. So
Is that one next door to you? Or first?
2 doors up.
So when I've been saying September, ours is July, each year in July.
July, the council will act on it, has to be,
Submitted by September or whatever.
well, our code says that you have to have a decision by November. The legislature met this year and they've added some time restraints to it. So it's called the ripcord. So if anybody wants a decision at any point in the process, they pull the ripcord, you have 45 days to have a decision. So that will, in the state law, will trump our.
And who doesn't want to pull the cord?
A lot of people don't want to pull it because if you make people say what, it's usually a no. So.
I guess, like, if people want answers sooner than later, but I get, yeah.
If you think it's just gonna be turned down, then you can pull it and go ahead and get on with your court case is what it's for. So that's what the ripcord does. If most people try and work through the process, it's trying to get it to pass, but at any point in the process, they can pull that.
They move into the court systems or whatever.
Right, and then you have 45 days to have an answer, which is 1 meeting for us.
In that area,
Literally.
Yeah.
that area that he's in is what a potential to be commercial.
It's a RA5 right now, it is not in the enterprise zone, I don't believe.
It's a ways in.
Yeah, and I did want to speak to that. Both, our town has 2 empties that dump on 189 and 40. Both of them have pie-shaped corners on both. We realized we were going to come up to some degree, a house or 2 or whatever. I don't know what that is. That's what we're going to get to discuss. But that was the same scenario down there. It's the same scenario on Mill, and this house is 2 or 3 up farther than that, and that is a point that certainly crossed my mind.
Is that one of the ones at the airport possibly?
Yeah, that will affect that property. The back corner of that property, I think, is one that would possibly.
I have to get some map overlays and just see how all the impacts might happen.
Yeah.
So tonight, all we're looking for is a motion to set the public hearing for April 10th. And then, of course, for you guys to show
I'll take a motion. I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to set the public hearing for the zone change on 1680 West, 3000 South for April 10th.
And the other public hearing?
Oh,
You wanna do them separate?
Separate vote, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we have a first on public hearing for the zone change. Do we have a second?
Second.
The first and a second, any discussion? Not, all in favor? Aye. That set, public hearing is set for the 10th, next month, okay?
I have a question. What was his business? What will he be doing there?
He picks up dumpsters and brings them
Oh,
in.
okay.
He has the, what's, I
Kind
can't
of
remember.
like Anderson's?
Same,
Just
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
smaller scale. They don't have the building like Anderson's do.
Yeah.
But he didn't put down his business name on here, but I guess it's just the zone change, so. At least that's what they've done so far.
okay. And we'll talk about the public hearing for the accessory structure, which I guess is gonna be a conditional use.
Yeah, so the way our code reads on conditional uses is if it's over 1,500 square feet, then it becomes a conditional use, any accessory structure that's over 1,500 square feet. So we send out a notice of a conditional use in the area, and then if we get any feedback, that's what pushes it to a public hearing. So we did get some feedback from 2 people that want to be involved with it, so that sends that to the public hearing. We'd like to schedule it the same night and get, it's for a sports court for Joe Witt, so it's a half-court basketball arena, and so it's over 1,500 square feet. It's in the side setback of his yard. We don't have any issues with setbacks or anything, but it is a conditional use based on the 1,500, so that's what pushes it to a public hearing.
Okay. Any questions on that? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to set that hearing also on the 10th.
So moved.
We have a first,
I second it.
we have a second. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have the other public hearing set for the same evening, and we will address them probably, I guess, separately as far as setting them apart in each hearing.
Yes. And then you'll notice the notices went out, you probably read them in the paper. The notices was already sent out to the paper. Code by the state is 10 days, ours is 14. So we've already sent that into the paper, Mary's already got that published. And all the letters went out to everybody within 500 feet,
Good.
as a side note.
Okay, that takes care of, item number 5. Item number 6 came up from last month. I remember just asking Mary to put this on the agenda. Discussion of acquisition of Daniel Water Shares. I believe the mindset behind that was just because we know we're going to be coming through this section now of the valley and re-proofing all the water systems. Did the town think that it may or may not be advantage to us to have some irrigation shares? So, did I state that correctly? Maybe what I thought last time.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any thoughts what they would or wouldn't like to do with that as far as a line item or discuss it?
Wonder if it'd be to the town's advantage, along with any person owning some water shares, to lease some of their shares to the town, if they think they've got more than they.
You know, I'd have to find out if that even qualified for a lease for water use.
It won't, because the town has to.
Use it.
Yeah, we have to put it to beneficial use, which means that we have to do a change application, and we'll draw that out of the well.
I think we'd rather go the other way, if anything. where
Buy
we-
'em and have
where
someone else
we
lease.
owned a few and then leased them out, but I don't even know why we would want to own any.
And that's a fair question, and it just came up because as they go through here, they're gonna be looking pretty close at irrigation companies, and as they do, irrigation companies may or may not be able to show that they have the same amount of acreage needed. And so, if anything, maybe the communities want to keep that water in our valley and just for discussion.
Yeah, oh, I understand, good discussion.
And, You know, right now, I've seen some prices pretty high, I've seen them pretty low over the years. I think everyone's getting this sense that this water is, you know, gotta get looked at, and so they're just throwing it out there. I don't know that right now is the right time, as much as it may take a few, some good understanding of why or not we should or shouldn't buy it.
I also found out after our last meeting that the state is going to be coming in and looking at if your barn, everything in your driveway, it's not gonna be just like, let's say I have 5 acres. They're gonna be taking out my arena, my corral, my barn, my driveway, my house,
For
everything.
Greenbelt, you mean?
Not for Greenbelt,
Watershed
but so
usage.
maybe I only have 3.5 acres, so.
Of irrigated
Yeah,
land, that's what
I'll
they'll be
be
looking at.
12,
Yeah, I see.
so.
Have you heard that, as far as personally, I've heard on that?
Absolutely, that's how they do it. They take an aerial photo and they go over it, and what they can identify is what's being irrigated, that's the land that they plug in the number. If you have so many acre feet and there's not that many acres being watered, then they cut the shares. So the advantage of the town having shares is that we're able to get those shares, convert them to a change of use application, and convert them to our well for future drinking water.
Okay.
And the shares that the town holds are not subject to that for future
Yeah, all
growth.
that stuff.
Yeah, those will be, the ones that are converted, remain at the acre feet.
So once again, this could be a real good advantage for the community and for all the folks, but then you know the other side may not feel the same.
The thing is, they're just gonna cut the irrigation company.
In turn.
They're not gonna come individually and cut your water. They're gonna tell the irrigation company, your shares are now not worth 4.3 shares per acre, now you need 7. And that's how they do it. So it's just the acre foot of water attached to the share reduces. And then it's up to the irrigation company to go back to their stockholders and say, how do we enforce that? And the only way they can is what is irrigated and what is not. So that's how it gets to that point. Yeah, they're not gonna fight with every individual, they're just gonna fight with the irrigation company, so. It'll be up to them to administer what cuts they have.
So,
But I think it's a good time to look at that and have some policy in place if we're looking at being ready to take on some of those shares.
so I think we have 16, 17 shares at the moment, isn't it? You know which end?
I think so.
Yeah, it's 16 or 17. Anyway, that's something that, as we start doing the budget, maybe that'll come up in our budget talk, because we're going to be needing to do the budget by June, and so Mary reminded me how fast that came up again, so we'll be meeting off and on, and love any kind of input, any kind of line item, any kind of thing from any council member that might maybe put in there. That's going to happen here in a couple of months. Okay.
So do we want to continue this on the agenda?
I think we should when it comes up. I mean, I think there might be an opportunity where maybe someone wants to get rid of some shares, and it might be feasible for us to do that. I'd like to look at our PTIF accounts and see where they stand individually, and we're going to be getting there with the budget process, so.
And we very well will have some residents that, if they know that they have too many shares, they may want to even donate them to the town.
Or let's say if I ever want to hook up to the water and I have an extra share, and I just give it to the town, and it's there for future use that goes with the property, right, correct?
Right.
Something like that.
Yep.
I've heard all those things. One thing that everybody wants to keep the water in the valley.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's our glue, and certainly in our communities. So I would say, yeah, we could then continue,
I think we should continue
continue
this.
and have that on every few months here, maybe just,
And everybody come, let's get it out and see what we feel like.
Because I know that they're meeting with the state's meeting with the water company, I think this month,
as in DIC.
as in, yeah, Denver.
Ours.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, I didn't know they come up the canyon already.
So do you want it on next month, or do you want it on the following month?
no, they put it on each month, and
Yeah.
it might be a real simple pass for the 1 month, and maybe, you know, someone got some information from somebody that's worth us taking the time to discuss.
Okay.
They were, at that last water meeting, they were talking about
November.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
maybe August, November, so they're,
It'll be done
they're
by
already
then,
starting to
I
talk.
I heard November too.
And it's
They're
gonna
gonna be
take
done
2
by
years
August.
for it to go into place.
it's gonna take what?
2 years for it to go into place once they figure all that out, so. For everybody to, let's say, if I have extra shares and I need to lease 2 or something to somebody, then they're giving everybody 2 years to get all that sorted out.
I don't think they're gonna give them 2 years.
Okay, well, yeah,
I think they're gonna look back in the 5-year use it or lose it, and they're gonna say you haven't been using it, because you haven't been using it beneficially, and it's subject to, they could take it right now on a 5-year use it or lose
So
it.
get some goats or more horses or something.
Well, his problem is property, not animals.
And nothing takes more than water than alfalfa, right? So you can't put a crop on it and claim, Jesus, what?
So what if you're using all the water they let you use, Eric? Aren't you meeting your?
No, because they're gonna look at your property and say it should take this much per acre.
Oh,
that's
And
correct.
so you can own a whole bunch of shares, but that's not beneficial use, because you're not in that criteria of
Got
the
it.
area. So if your alfalfa, your root zone's 45 to, they have it timed so that our optimum root zone penetration is every 12 hours you roll your water. So that's what they're gonna look at, what crops you have and what your soil conditions are, and then they're gonna make that determination. So, yeah, before you could get extra water and you just, you had it, but that's not how it's gonna work. They'll take that away from you.
and this is all irrigation water.
Yes.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
Sounds very
Probably hasn't
corrupt.
been not getting used like.
We can thank the west side of Utah Lake and all those folks over
Absolutely.
there.
I got a
Yeah.
letter from.
Yeah, if you have a well that you use not come to beneficial use, they can absolutely take that.
When you say take it, they can,
They-
they don't have to pay you for it?
No, they just tell you haven't used the rights, you've lost it. You no longer have a right to
Paid 20
that.
grand for it 8 years ago, whenever, got by, thank you.
Yeah,
Well, we've been using ours, but that's
Yeah, that's what
interesting
they'll
that they
do.
can do that.
yep, yep, and they'll just come along and do that. The state of Utah owns the water, you only lease the right to use it. So they just take it back.
So you can only sell.
Even though you paid for it.
The well? Yeah,
No, well, the well and the irrigation water, each one of us paid some amount of money for a share of irrigation water.
right, but that was only the right to use it.
That's only the right to use
So you can
it.
only
So
sell.
that's what they're
right?
taking back, is your right to use it.
With no money coming back,
That's right.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
So it's an ugly process, it is, I can,
Keep
Can
it
only
on.
imagine.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
till we find out.
and the town of Daniel has a lot of fields that people from not in the town own. And their investment, and they're not being irrigated. And that's subjects, when they do that, that's gonna cost everybody in the town, and that's when the irrigation's gonna have to go to those developers and say, hey, you guys haven't used it, you don't have water now. You have to go out on the market and buy water to turn in when you develop.
So then the irrigation company will be the enforcer by saying when they cut our water, it's because
Yeah,
Right.
they take it from the irrigation company.
So it'll be just like us with the poison. They'll be glad to sit there and let us take a bullet in the forehead. That's what they're gonna do to the irrigation company.
Well,
Because those developers are gonna try and take the irrigation company to court. You guys got rid of our shares.
I'm sure it's a mess. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a
it will
mess.
be. We got several of them that wanna come into the town right now that have over 100 shares. They're not irrigating it. They have it there for future culinary use. And
The
not
timing-
being used.
The timing couldn't be worse or better depending on if you have, if you can hold the shares to turn in for development for all these guys, well, you better develop pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you'll see, I think there'll be quite a push. Anybody that's probably close to getting a development in may want to send it to the town and have the town hold it for that development and get the preliminary started so that water has tied up. 'Cause that'll be huge.
You ever have a feeling we're being corralled?
Well, and then they hit us with the fire thing, wildland fire. We
Yeah.
don't have water to irrigate, but nope, you can't burn. So, yeah, it's
And
either way.
I'm gonna take that little segue there and talk about if anyone knows of, anyone that's spent any hours for cleaning that, the ditch of any kind of debris or personal cleaning of trees or trimmings. We have each year that report that we give to the county for our fire wildlands mitigation program, and they don't really want money as much as they want, time and service, and so I know of 3 people that have spent, I don't know, probably 6, 8, 10 hours right now, and if anybody here knows of anybody in the next little while, let me know, and we'll get it on the report.
To that being said, the call that I got today, the lady was telling me also that above the stream from where that debris was pushed into the creek, that there is debris up further.
There's probably kind of debris all the way up there, and those
There is.
folks know that each year they get, the neighbor gets out and
They're responsible for that stream. The property owners own to the center of the stream, they're responsible for clearing that out.
so I've left my backhoe up there with Ryan, and so right there's that culvert that we actually solved the problem, but back in the day, and
The
so,
same one that the lady called about today.
I don't know where she's at, I just know that where the culvert is, and he has my backhoe up there because
Who
it's
called
great.
today?
Kim, she said her address was like 4781.
It's gotta be close to the guy
Where's
that's putting the
the-
house up, the
Are
church.
you aware of a modular that's going in?
Yes,
Okay, so that's where she's talking about, that
Yeah.
right now they cleared that lot and shoved that debris down in the creek.
it's really not debris, it's the snow that was on the law. They were ready to, they're putting the modular in, we wouldn't give them a permit unless they elevated the house out of the floodplain. So they pushed the snow off and then brought in dirt and elevated the whole thing up 5.5 feet.
Oh, because she's saying that now that the snow's gone, there's trees
Well,
and dirt and.
Yeah, when you push the snow in, the top of the snow melts and it looks like it's all debris, but it's really snow. So we've been on that, they are ready for a certificate of occupancy, and we won't give it to them until that's cleared out, so we're aware that's going on. We know the gas is hooked up, the power's hooked up, all the grading's done, the water line's in, but that's really what we're waiting on is that. They were specifically told to stay away from the stream. Army Corps of Engineers was involved with that, so.
On top of
Excellent.
it. Don't clean it up, leave it. You gotta clean it up to get its occupancy. Catch 22.
Yeah.
Let's see, item number 7, discussion, representation of the town in the county pollution control. Last month it was brought up, Steph and I went to an interlocal meeting, and they were asking to form a clean air committee in the community, and possibly having one representative from each town or area to attend. It would just be a resident, or it could be a member of the council, or anybody. If they are so interested in to be on that committee, they are looking for, and we would be looking for somebody that would be interested in being on that board.
So is this gonna entail land, air, everything, or just air?
I got it was, and Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just an air pollution, air particulate air.
That's correct,
Not
that's
a,
what I
not a
understood.
stormwater, not a,
No, that was not brought up.
wonder why they don't include that in that committee.
They definitely didn't talk about any of that, but, and I don't know if that committee's I think it's gonna get off the ground, depending on how many people jump on it for that. Patty will, I'm sure, get some folks and start talking about it, so.
So what is that going to entail?
Well, it's gonna tell that whoever gets on there is gonna steer that committee to where, I made a comment, maybe shouldn't have, but just, let's make sure we have one of those air sensors near the biggest polluter in the valley, which would be the airport. And, of course, got a couple of laughs, but that needs to be done, and then they're gonna, find out how much of a pollutant hopefully that airport is, but they didn't wanna have any sensors up to that meeting near us to look at it.
Kendall's getting.
Yeah.
So.
That's another discussion.
So based on that, Chip, there was also talk, I seen on the minutes of the county, that there's a transportation committee. Was we invited to be on that?
They said they were also going to be forming one of those. So we were not necessarily from each town, but it was almost the same kind of talk, we'll form it. They did not ask us to go back and get a representative for that particular, I think what somebody probably could get on it was really casual as far as that. It almost didn't even go anywhere, really. Some
No, they
people,
talked about having a bus, like a Park City's free bus going from Heber to Park City to take employees in, but then that was all that was said.
and then some people about the cost of public transport
Yes.
and do the towns, really understand what that would commit to, because there is kind of a need for certain folks to get to Park City and places, and there is. It's just,
To be done.
are we ready for that kind of a
When that was brought up the first time, the discussion became, we are not gonna be the low-income housing for Park City.
And it was brought up.
That
this
Was
was
it brought up
Yeah,
again?
that's
Okay,
it.
because that shut it right down at the first meeting, it was like,
It went
bam.
another 10 minutes after that on this time, though. I mean,
Okay, all right, because the county council was very upset about it, that they even thought that they was gonna do that. I mean, Todd Hollow has really become that on the other side of the lake, so.
Yes.
And the sheriff department, you talk to them, they spend a lot of time out there on calls.
We do.
And so that's what the county council was worried about
Apartments or?
over at Todd Hollow. There's just a ton of things that go on over there with, it just, so, the density is so high that just problems become issues so fast. Parking's a problem, all the density issues,
So it didn't account for it.
so.
Think they're planning.
The legislature allows counties to put their affordable income housing in other counties. That's what they've done, so.
Oh, wow, wow.
And so there was absolutely no way a bus was coming into this county in the last meeting I was in. They're just like, that is not happening, but it sounds like maybe they're,
They brought it up again. Kind of was,
Yeah, it didn't get a lot of traction in the meeting. It
No.
kind of got brought up and maybe people talked about it. And I'm sure people are trying to get traction for it, but at this particular meeting, there was one.
okay. Well, the new Jordanelle special, what is that, recreation area, JRA?
okay.
They have bus stops all through that. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at those plans. There's bus stops all through that, their code book is online right now and can be reviewed. And there's bus stops all through that for public transportation, and that will be in Heber City. The plan is to annex that in, so that may be the way that public transportation comes.
They might have a committee, it's gonna go
Force it
in
in.
Heber City anyway, so they're gonna have it, deal with it, administer it probably and everything.
Yeah, well, but it'll be state money
At least they
kicking
might.
in there, so we'll all be in it.
Didn't Park City, didn't they, they did a study in Park City, was the backing of the study to have a bus over here?
Absolutely,
They
yeah.
had a $50,000 study and they didn't mind, it's like, no, that came from CDBG actually, but then someone else funded it besides them and.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was the sore spot in the first meeting, why is Park City over here telling us
That's
we need a bus?
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. it was
So-
And a
so-
bigger airport.
Somebody said something about a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
I believe they said it in the meeting. You know? So, anyway, there's a lot going on over on that side, so.
All that.
Okay.
So is anybody willing to take that?
Depending on when it is, if it's in the, toward late afternoon or.
Has Heidi contacted you or anything?
She has not since that meeting, I just
Yeah,
know
I've
the
seen it.
discussion's out there and I haven't had a letter, any communication on this. I just know that if we were to call up and say, hey, great, and they'd welcome it at this point, I think, they're not really even up and running.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
It's not one of you guys, you're all here. I don't think it needs to be a council member either.
No, I
If we
think-
know somebody that wants to be.
Well, I think she wanted people.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
Okay.
she wanted somebody for representation from the town, from each individual entity.
But should she
Is
want
what she
an
wanted.
elected official? Is that what
That's
she's
she
talking about?
wanted, yes.
Wow, I wonder if she knows her planning commission is not elected officials. They're all appointed. So it'll be a recommendation board, they won't set policy, I don't see why it would have to be a,
I believe it certainly is a recommendation board.
yeah. That's weird.
Just a-
I missed the meeting, I was at training, so.
It was great.
Is it, John, that's something you probably want to at least see if you can fit into that, or?
Yeah, I'll see.
You want me to give you her number, just at least you can talk to her, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Let me know, John, because I'm willing to do it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys want to flip a coin and?
Don't we send them both?
Double
We
representation.
could, we could tag team it.
That's right, make sure we get that.
That's 2 votes.
Yeah, there's 2 votes.
Well, good, we'll get,
Yeah, we really want a bus. Oh, yeah, bring
Yeah.
that up.
I would, as far as that, I mean,
There's gonna be electrical charging stations, Heber's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, no. But
No,
there's not
I-
gonna be any planes and cars,
Oh, well,
horse and buggy.
I'm good to go then.
Okay.
I'll let you make the first move on it to call her, if that's not gonna work or not, then let Stephanie know,
Okay.
that way that she can communicate, if
Yeah.
it's gonna work for her.
What's her?
I'll have to text you.
Oh, okay.
It probably came in that email that went out. trying to think of the email I sent out to all you guys, council members. It would be in the header of that for the. For the interlocal meeting, or email them that hop into that.
I don't know if you want that stuff.
What's
You can give
that
it to
was,
me after, I'll take it, I think I've got it.
that's the mayor?
No.
Is that the council?
I think I've called her.
Okay,
Either city.
just Heber City.
Planning Department report, violations and enforcement, item number 8.
Okay. There's only one page.
What?
We're still to one page.
Summertime's not here yet.
Yes, it is.
No.
Anybody want one? You want to share?
Sure.
You can see there's a bunch of projects we're doing. We did get some complaints. Mr. Nilsson, I thought he would be here tonight. We have a complaint on the nightly rental that we have in the town, the traffic congestion.
He came and saw me, and at that, after talking, I thought he would be here this evening. He had indicated that he would be there. He had written a letter, and
The town is in receipt of that letter.
yep. I also received some, besides that letter, some other photographs of something very similar to what he described. That, and so, anyway.
So he did leave a message Saturday night on my phone. So he didn't call Friday, he called Saturday night. And he was under the impression that you had told him he may need to gather more evidence. And so he said he didn't want to push it until he had enough evidence to do it. So I don't know where that, I didn't talk to him directly, so I don't know.
What he said, I said, I understand. There was some discussion that may or may not be, but we were kind of told to treat it like a regular complaint, and he did make that comment multiple times. At the same time, I don't know if there's more that he needs to do, because there was nothing more that I was told that needed to be done.
I did run off a copy of
Where
that.
is this old
Okay.
village at?
Council wants to look at that
Perfect.
complaint.
Thanks, Mayor.
Where is this
You probably have that, but So, of course, I've done nothing, waiting for direction from the council. What would you have me do?
Well, I'm just curious, how much more evidence do you need? I mean, if it's listed on a vacation rental.
Well,
site.
here's what I see happening, and this is just my opinion, I'm not a lawyer. I see a judge looking at this and saying, what's the difference if you invite your cousins over? Where's the harm? That's what I see him looking at. So, until we have, I mean, it's sad, but if we have a sheriff's report, like happened over at the other home, where Mr. Rose couldn't get up the driveway, then that becomes a bigger issue, and there's something that the judge can look at where it is actually a problem. This, what's stated on this page is nothing different than if I had a barbecue at my house. And so, when we file, there you have your evidence, that's what we're going with, so.
Well, I'll try to clear up a little bit. So,
Yeah, because that's just me.
and
So
then,
what do we have to do, go rent it?
well, so
That's what I suggested.
that was actually the suggestion. It's like, what do we need to do?
It's-
So we cannot deal or go solely on his advertisement, but you'd think that would be a pretty good indicator. He sent us this letter. I also am in possession of other photographs, and he did not send photographs, but there's lots of photographs, and there's other people that would substantiate what he is stating here. He's talked to the individuals. They have physically told him that's exactly what they're doing. And so I was told to treat this like any complaint, ask him to come before the council. If he doesn't, we go to the next step. He may or may not, but the applicant, excuse me, the complainant did ask if that we not do anything until we felt we could do something about it. I don't know if there's anything more, I mean, more than more license plates and more dates and more times. I was not given any information from our council that, of anything over and above what he's already done here, meaning, he didn't say go get 5 more dates. He didn't say get 5 more license plates, so.
In 2009, where do we get on this list?
And we have another home that's also, is just like right, very nearby, doing exactly the same thing.
And that is mentioned in that complaint on the
I
back.
see it, yeah.
Okay.
And so there's 2 of those.
That one has had issues, so we do know they have blocked the driveway because it's a shared driveway entrance, and so
Okay.
that one we did have. And seeing that falls under nuisance, and it's
Yeah.
easier for a judge to look at the impacts here.
Yeah, if it's a shared driveway.
This is a deal, so.
On one of the gentlemen, he called and I told him, and we had a very open discussion about the rules, and he just went ahead and did it anyway. So, I don't know how I feel, except for I think that council said let's treat it like any other complaint. It may go in a direction that we don't want it to go, but I don't know how many more license plates we could get or how many more dates we could say there's more than 5 cars there. What we do know is there is no caretaker living there. And when I say what we know that only because people have told this applicant that, and they know who the person that would be the caretaker, and he's never there. But that's, of course, his and the other people's words that know the situation better.
Yeah.
I think that the best evidence is to get a contract that you're renting it and have it on, and rent it. I mean, if people going in and out.
That would certainly be a huge piece of evidence.
Yeah, I'm not
And
watching who goes in and out of every place and taking down the license plate, that's not gonna hold anything, like you said.
It might, I'm just saying, if I,
But if you have a contract that they're renting it on a nightly basis, then, and you have that, a hard copy, that's,
I would agree, that would be add certainly to the pile in a very credible way. I think that even just having all the different license plates, when you take the photograph and see them on multiple occasions, all these different ones, you really have 27 kids come from all over, maybe. And that's what Eric's saying, you could say these things in a court case, but at the same time, the person may have no problem and want to go that direction. I just feel as a town that ours and everybody else's seems to be a rule, and I don't want it to get out of hand, which is already kind of out of hand.
yeah, sounds like it. I mean,
So is that something that I could probably call this gentleman back as he came to meet with me and to see if there would be somebody to get that contract? Is that something the council would like? What other more information would this council like before we move forward to make him also feel comfortable?
yeah, are you guys ready? I'm ready to send a letter if that's what you tell me to do. I'll do whatever.
I'm ready, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and the letter would say that we've received a complaint, documented complaint, however we word it, that this is going on at this address. And let's ask him to come in and explain if there's something different than that, or how that wording's done, and we'll take it from the next step.
Okay.
I would like-
So I'd like to use the paper that we use for violation,
Yep, standard.
the standard one.
Treat it just like any other one that we have.
Okay, I can mail that. Do we have an address for this? I don't think that was included in the complaint, right?
Probably
No, only the name of the house. I don't believe I did ever.
For the other one.
To where to mail the letter.
Oh,
And really, we probably should send it certified.
I agree.
Yes.
Probably get it off that webpage.
Yeah,
I think we get a fair share of that.
But I think that's just who's managing the property. Is that necessarily going to get to the property owner?
Sometimes, I don't know.
Okay.
What kinds of things do we have the authority to do there?
As far as what we can do, if they're out of the compliance, then they get told that it can't be done, and if more violations are done, Eric would know the timing on it, but I believe it gets fairly stiff fairly quick once or goes to court pretty quick, one of the two.
Yeah, would have the sheriff come out and issue a citation, and it's a Class B misdemeanor, and then they have to go show it to the judge and explain to him why. So we'll have to provide the sheriff with our code, and we have an interlocal agreement with the justice court, and that's heads right to court.
And
So,
if this gentleman has phone numbers or names or of the people he talked to that gave him the verbal information along with what his visual information was, that may come into play as well. Because, I mean, I don't know if they're, they're all friends, they could be some friends or other people that just, yeah, I stayed there, well, that's what they're telling him, so.
yeah.
Shall I entertain a motion about it then? You want a motion?
Yeah, if you want me to send a letter.
Okay.
I don't want to get sued personally again.
Just don't put it on your letterhead, or put it on the town's letterhead
Yeah,
next
don't put it
time.
on the Eric's list.
Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion, and we had the first, we have a second?
I'll second it.
A second, any discussion on the letter? Okay, for the complaint? Not, all in favor to send it? Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed?
Me.
One opposed?
Are you really opposed?
Yeah, I don't think we have, I told you what I thought of it.
Just want to verify.
We have a violation in the right of way that we own, and we're getting crap over that, so I think that's a pretty high bar to clear. But I will mail the letter.
Well, there's not a lot of resources for anyone to give anybody any information on which step to step first.
Right.
That-
Well, even history, I think, would, more history on it, but you want to nip it in the bud? This is the bud, so.
Well, I'd like to find out what his reply is. I'd like to know what he says about the whole thing, and I don't know that, 2 more months from what the gentleman said, I know exactly what he would like, and I just don't know what we could do more so to make that either stronger or less stronger.
Yeah,
Except for
and
that-
did you explain to him that, I know he wanted to stay incognito?
He did, but he kind of came forward, and that's why, he
Okay,
thought he would come out if he kind of needed to, and.
okay, because he will be a witness.
I'm sure, and I believe that he said there'd be other people that are also would be,
Okay,
uh,
super.
whether it's written or have to be a person.
Okay, awesome, sounds great. Then, just a couple things before we get off of there, the League of Cities in Town, mid-year conference, St. George. Anybody want to go to that? Here's some, I have 2 registration papers, if anybody wants to take those. And they talk about a lot of stuff down there. I'm not going to that one, but. Then the other one was, nope, it's the same one, League of Cities in Town. Okay, any questions on that report? Good?
Let's see, on, dang it, the Beather subdivision,
That would be the reader.
yeah. Suit was filed.
Yeah, so suit has been filed. We have replied to the answer. Well, 2 or 3 suits have been filed. It's filed, we answered, he filed again, we answered, he filed again. So, just racking up money.
Okay.
I asked our attorney what that was all about, and she just says that he has a hard time following the rules. So every time we have to answer,
We have to.
we have to answer or we could lose, so. That's what we're doing. Lawyers make a lot more than us, so.
Is there something in there that?
Where's the Beather subdivision at?
It's Rex Reader,
that we can-
Southfield Road.
What's
So
it-
we ran a water line in front of the house, and he claims that that's his property and not the right of way.
Something like that. I'm
Kind
not
of
sure if
by
that's
the Stafford House down there?
Same, yep,
Okay.
on the other side of the road,
Because we talked
just,
about it, I kept thinking, where is that?
yeah, just straight down the road on the other side.
Attach that to the property, can
Okay,
That's it.
your planning report. Any other questions for that? Okay, moving on to,
There's just one more right there, Chip on the board.
oh, yes.
So we have a property, this will be the old Myrick property that I've drawn up here. So after, this was all one piece, so this is the edge of the town, let's see, Heber City. This was all one piece, they went in and they've subdivided this, and it appears that this one has now got trucks and trailers on it. You'll remember Heber City brought, there's a road right here, and they put Jersey barriers along
We
here.
had them block it.
Now they're gone, and they're using this as an access into this parcel. So there's trailers loaded with forms.
And I have not, I left a message by calling the Heber City manager, and then we've been there probably almost a year, about that, to let him, he may or may not even know that, that barrier has been removed, and or as far as the lot is concerned, it's illegally was made, it didn't go, it was just recorded and that's it. So it then goes to the channels of, well, you can't make two buildable lots out of a, 7 or 8 acre lot. So. Anyway, I have not talked to the Heber City manager, and I will be able to talk, I'll be able to report on what they're gonna do with that. That certainly, I don't believe should be going on, and I would like to get it stopped, and unless somebody has a different view than that.
Yeah, so it's,
So they did a lot split or something?
yeah, they went in and just,
Just did it?
yeah. So that's 1.89 acres and the other one's 6. You remember we had a couple people come in that wanted to subdivide that to put a farm on it, and it's a couple of different applicants.
Yeah.
So we know, or sooner or later, there's gonna come in, someone's gonna sell that lot, they're gonna want to build on it. And it's not an actual lot, and thereby I don't think it's gonna pass the muster enough. That application, unless it changes.
So the for sale sign's down. There's no for sale sign on the property right now.
Where's this at? Sorry, I don't.
This is right by the church on Daniel Road.
Yeah, the church, so the Daniels church, the house right behind it, that big lot, they used to have a lot of cars there forever.
Leonard Cooler's behind it again.
Steve and Sharon Webb, and then there's the house where her son lives.
Okay,
The driveway goes down between that
Right.
and Smith's old house.
okay.
Yeah, Dennis.
Blue and white.
The
maybe.
blue one that goes back in.
Yeah.
That was for sale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the property. The legislature talked about this, went to a training Saturday again and they talked about this, and they just don't see a way that they can stop people doing this with their property, is selling pieces off. It doesn't make them buildable, but then it sure is a problem when it comes down to it, that they've created an illegal law.
So they know that the problem that exists will come from this if they do it, but they won't stop this.
Right. And so, well, they batted around a couple ideas, and one of them was that you can't do a lot line adjustment or subdivide the property without a signature from the municipality, so that everybody's on board before it can be reported at the county, but they didn't put that into the law, so I think that's a fix. So they'd have to come along and get a signature from the town, would be able to stop that, but that's not what they did this year, so. So, and I thought, well, I don't know, the reason I told Chippy I ought to bring it up here is, I don't know if we want to close that road off, but then they'll just come out on Daniel Road, right? So does it help us? Remember all the residents that came in when they had their cars in there and they were complaining to us? They all lived in Heber City? Are these the folks that need to get fired up because they're dragging trailers in and out of their subdivision to push this issue with Heber City? Or do you think that
Have
we
you had a
should?
written complaint on this yet?
I have not.
We just heard I'd driven by, seen it and stuff, okay. I would think that scenario might be the one, because I'm sure it's already brewing with the neighbors already.
Yeah, I mean, they came clear here, they're not even in the town to complain.
And that was a bit about a different subject.
Yeah.
So this one,
Same property, different subject, so.
So this is their driveway, so to speak?
Yeah, so there's a home here and a home there on both sides of that 2370 south that comes right into that 1.89
They're
acres.
loving that, aren't they?
So really, if that is closed off, there's no access to that back 1.89 acres except for through the 606.
well, and if we close it off though, that owner which may or may not be the same person, may not want them coming out his driveway, which then, but that road might set a precedent, if we let them keep using that, it might set a precedent, so I know we're not gonna build on it, we can just put all our crap on it.
Yeah,
And we can't stand for that to happen, just to.
And if they got water.
so that's why I told Chip you should bring it and talk with the council about it.
That's another hard one.
The 1.89 acres has the barn on it.
It does.
I talked to that realtor and heard all this.
Did you?
Yeah, the guy that.
Was it a good dance or song?
I'm
Was
sorry?
it a good song and dance?
Yeah.
It was.
The realtor at the time knew exactly what was going on.
See,
And it was totally not appropriate. of what
See,
the owner did. And he doesn't live here, the owner, he lives in Texas.
Yeah, well, the owner right now lives in Vernal.
Oh, maybe he sold it to somebody else. It was a short sale,
Yeah, Wells
and he got
Fargo.
the property.
Sold it to Stephen Alonzo Henderson and Brandon David Henderson. And their address is 1320 West, 2000 North in Vernal, Utah. This was recorded on the 14th of September 2017.
So the real estate agent basically told me a story then.
If a real estate agent sells a property that's not up to snuff, the state can go after her license or their license. So they attach that license, so they have to do their due diligence. So we'd make a complaint with the Realtors Association if we find out if somebody's doing that. And the state will come down on them, because their due diligence is to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Interesting.
Could that be brought up when realtors bring up some of these properties?
I think it's brought up every time. I think that's what happens, is they get tired of hearing it.
And they're calling up to find, is this a buildable lot? Do you have access? Is this a buildable lot?
Yeah.
You have access.
And if it's sold,
And I used to say, you can do this, this, and this, and this, and make it a buildable lot. Now I just say no.
Let them think about
They
it.
have to figure it out
That's easier.
themselves. Because, and inevitably, they heard everything I told them, they didn't hear the one thing that they're trying to do. So,
so if they put it all together, or keep it all together, they could have a buildable lot.
it is a buildable lot, and there's a house on it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, you get a house on it, and then we do have some property here in the town that has been adjusted, and it's less than 5 acres. And they can't even get an accessory building permit on that, it's an illegal lot. Technically, the bank could call the loan on those lots. The second they do that, so. Anyway,
So Eric's kind of asking how, I mean, should we wait and let the neighbors maybe get the duster up there, or would someone like me to call the city manager and try to get that barricade put back?
Who took the barricade away?
I'm assuming Heber City. But we have a
Do
new
you?
man. Yeah,
You don't think the homeowner did?
no, there's nothing around there, it's cleaned right up.
Really?
Yeah,
That
I
kinda-
think they called Heber City and said, hey, you got these things in front of my driveway. And the new manager sent the guys over to move those things out of his driveway.
So the new manager needs to.
That means he thinks it's theirs.
I think
I
that we
think he
should call
needs
the
to
city,
be educated.
Heber City.
As much as we'd like to see all the commercial traffic go through Heber City instead of Daniel, it's probably an issue.
Well-
You gotta call him.
Okay, and I just for clarity's sake, to see what they even think about it, because it shouldn't have been stubbed in the first place, then they need to block it off, then, if the guy sold it, maybe the guy in the back, we can theorize all day long. so.
Yeah, and well, and the history on that is they tried to disconnect from the town a couple of times.
Yeah.
They wanted annex into Heber. You can get a lot of homes on that if you're in Heber
Wow.
City.
I'll find out what's going on.
And they got a driveway too.
Yeah, there's already access.
They're stubbed right in, with the barricade going out.
Yeah, so that's why I thought Chip should talk to the council and see but if you guys are ready for that, I'm okay with it too. I don't think they should have been moved in the first place, but,
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and I don't think it should have been moved in the first place as well. I will make that phone call and, anything else?
the only other thing I had was our, thing from our lawyer about the water that David wrote back. We got a return from the state.
Oh, for the permit?
Yeah.
The water permit?
So we had our lawyer send them a letter for the return flow from the treatment plant, and the state, it responded back and said that it's okay to dump it in there. So they issued
Dump
the
it
permit
in
in the canal.
Daniels.
Because you can dump in the river, you can dump in the canal. But yet, they don't dump in the river because you can't.
Yeah, yeah. It's a third option on there. Anyway, we did receive a response back from the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
All because.
I shouldn't say it's a state, it's a division of, it's the Fed,
Drinking water.
environmental quality.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
So that we can
That's
sell
enough.
that- Sell that back,
thank you, Eric.
back to the Salt Lake City.
And Gary's not here this evening, and I don't know, Shelley, would you might be able to